I slammed the gavel down on my own heart the day I signed the papers that made me their landlord. But let's back up to the night I realized family wasn't blood, it was a transaction. And I'd been shortchanged. My brother, Ethan, got the mansion in the hills because he deserved stability, while I bled out on a hospital gurney, begging for $5,000 they wouldn't spare, whispering, "Family first," like it was gospel, until I became the devil they prayed to avoid. And yeah, I torched the bridge with a Molotov of cold cash. But who wouldn't? When the flames were already licking at your heels from the people who lit the match. That betrayal? It started slow, like rust on a '72 Chevy left too long in the garage. But it ate through everything solid I thought we had. Growing up in Elmwood, Ohio, a nowhere town where the factories coughed black smoke and dreams came pre-packaged in aluminum cans, Mom and Dad played favorites like it was an Olympic sport. Ethan was the golden boy, quarterback in high school, straight-A charmer who could talk his way out of a blind date with the principal's daughter. Me, Alina, the quiet one with the sketchbook and the scholarships that paid for community college, but not the escape velocity to orbit their bullshit. They poured love into him like he was a leaky roof in a hurricane, $400,000 for that McMansion in the suburbs of Cincinnati. Cash from Dad's retirement fund that somehow never ran dry for me. I was 25, fresh out of a dead-end graphic design gig in Columbus, when the first twinge hit. Sharp, like a knife between the ribs, but I chalked it up to stress. Deadlines, ramen noodles, and that asshole roommate who ghosted with 3 months' rent. Then the cough started, wet, hacking, the kind that leaves you staring at the sink wondering if that's blood or just cherry Kool-Aid. By the time I dragged myself to the free clinic, the doc's face said it all: stage 2 ovarian cancer. Aggressive, he muttered, scribbling referrals like they were lottery tickets. Surgery was the Hail Mary, hysterectomy, chemo follow-up, the works. Cost? A cool $15,000 out of pocket after insurance's half-assed coverage. I had $2,500 scraped from freelance gigs. Needed $12,500 more. Called Mom first. Voice cracking over the line from the ER payphone. "Alina. Honey. We're stretched thin," she sighed, like I was asking for a yacht. Dad chimed in from the background, yelling about the new granite countertops they were installing in Ethan's kitchen remodel. "Your brother's starting a family. Priorities. Priorities." That word lodged in my throat like a fishbone. Ethan, 28 and married to Brittany, the Pilates instructor with the trust fund smile, had just closed on that $400,000 house, 4 bedrooms, pool in the back. The kind of place where you host barbecues for venture capitalists pretending to care about craft IPAs. They co-signed the loan, threw in the down payment from Dad's overtime at the steel mill, bonuses Mom squirreled away from her nursing shifts. But for me, crickets. "Pray on it," Mom said. "God's got a plan." God's plan was me selling my beat-up Honda for $8,000 and couch surfing through chemo rounds that left me puking my guts into hospital-issue basins. The surgery happened in a county facility, charity case, they called it, where the lights buzzed like angry hornets and the anesthesiologist had hands that shook from too many double shifts. I woke up hollowed out, stitches pulling like barbed wire, and the bill arrived 2 weeks later, $15,200. I paid in installments that nicked my veins dry, working remote from a fever bed, designing logos for podunk startups that paid in exposure and expired Subway gift cards. Ethan sent a card. "Thinking of you. Cease. Hang in there. No check. No visit." Brittany posted ultrasound pics on Instagram, baby number 1. Gender reveal in pastel blues, while I liked them from a library computer. Thumb hovering over unfollow like it was a loaded gun. Mom called once during recovery. Ethan's housewarming is next month. You should come, bring a side dish. I laughed. A dry hack that tasted like copper. Can't afford gas. Mom. Silence. Then, well, life's not fair. Is it? Life's not fair? Understatement of the goddamn century. But here's where the rust turns to rot. I started digging. Late nights when the pain meds were off and the what-ifs clawed at my skull. Old emails. Family photos timestamped wrong. Dad's reluctance to talk about the summer I turned 16. That's when the secret slithered out, like a snake from the garden. Coiled and venomous. Ethan wasn't just the favorite. He was the fixer-upper they buried sins for. That DUI crash junior year? The one where his blood alcohol was 0.18 and the girl in the passenger seat, his girlfriend, Tara, ended up paralyzed from the waist down? I took the fall. 15-year-old me. Scared shitless. Lied to the cops at Dad's insistence. You were driving. Alina. Borrowed the keys.
Accident.
They bought it, small-town justice. Kid's sister covering for Big Bro. Tara's family sued. Settlement ate our savings. But Ethan walked. College fund intact. Mom and Dad spun it as protecting the family, but it was always him. Always Ethan. I confronted them over Thanksgiving me. Gaunt and wired on black coffee. Them flushed from turkey and Merlot. Why me? Why not him? Dad's fork clattered. You were tougher. Could handle it. Mom teared up. We didn't want to lose him. He had potential. Potential. Like I was the spare tire. Patched and forgotten in the trunk. Ethan smirked across the table. Carving the bird like a king. Water under the bridge. Sis. But bridges don't forgive floods. They crumble. That night, I drove back to Columbus in a borrowed beater. Windows down to let the cold slap sense into me. No more scraps from their table. I hustled, freelance turned full-time at a mid-tier ad agency. Then jumped to a startup in Pittsburgh doing UI for fintech apps. Nights, coding boot camps online. Certifications stacking like bricks in a wall. Cancer went into remission after 18 months, but the scar tissue? That stayed. A roadmap of grudges etched under my skin. By 29, I was senior designer at a VC-backed firm. Pulling six figures. Equity vesting like clockwork. Bought my first condo, a sleek one-bed in Shadyside. Exposed brick and skyline views. No pool. But no parasites either.
Meanwhile,
Ethan's empire cracked. That stable job in real estate? Ponzi vibes from the jump, flipping houses on inflated loans. Brittany's daddy pulling strings until the '08 hangover hit again in 23. Foreclosure whispers turned to shouts when the market tanked. Crypto bros fleeing like rats. They declared bankruptcy last spring. That $400,000 palace auctioned off to some flipper from Cleveland. Mom and Dad, co-signers dragged down. Their Elmwood split level, mortgage-free since '05, now leveraged to the hilt for helping the kids. Irony? It was on the block. Zillow listing screaming motivated sellers. I saw the ad first, scrolled past it on my lunch break, heart kicking like a mule. 1427, Oak Ridge Lane. My childhood home, where I'd hidden report cards under the floorboards and dreamed of cities that didn't smell like rust. Price, $285,000. I called my realtor that afternoon. Cash offer.
no contingencies.
Closed in 2 weeks. The day I got the keys, the locksmith grinned. Family heirloom? I snorted. More like reclaimed baggage.
They didn't know yet.
I let them stew in denial. Packing boxes in the garage. Mom's knickknacks in bubble wrap. Dad's tool bench dusted with regret. First rent check, due the first $2, $500 a month. Market rate for the neighborhood. I drafted the notice myself. Embossed stationery from my desk drawer. Welcome to your new lease.
Love.
Landlord Alina. But revenge isn't a sprint, it's a slow bleed. I started small, inspections unannounced. Maintenance, fees for phantom leaks. Emails CC'd to lawyers about code violations from Ethan's old parties. He called once. Voice oily. This some kinda joke? I leaned back in my ergonomic chair. City lights twinkling beyond the glass.
No joke, bro.
Just business. He laughed. Nervous. Come on, Alina. Family discount. That's when I dropped the bomb. Family? Last I checked. You all auctioned that off with a china cabinet. The pushback came hard. Mom showed up at my office, uninvited. Pearls clutched like rosaries, begging in the lobby. Security hovering. This isn't you.
Honey.
Vengeful? That's not Christian. I met her eyes. Steel to silk. You taught me priorities.
Mom.
This is mine. Dad tried the guilt trip next. Voicemails thick with that mill worker gravel. We raised you better. Raised me to eat shit and smile. More like.
Ethan?
He lawyered up, claiming undue influence or some bullshit. But my attorney, Shark from Duquesne, shredded it. Blood doesn't buy equity, she quipped, billing me for the pleasure. By summer, the cracks spiderwebbed. Brittany filed for separation. Turns out, Ethan's side hustle involved more than flips, whispers of embezzlement from a client escrow. The kind that lands you in Chillicothe for 5 to 10. Mom's nursing license lapsed. Stress, she said, and Dad's back gave out. No overtime to cushion the fall. Rent piled up. Late fees compounding like interest on a bad bet. I could have evicted, squatters' rights be damned, but where's the drama in a quick boot?
Nah.
I wanted them to feel the slow unravel. The way I choked on that hospital air. That's when the real hook sank in, Tara. Yeah. The ghost from Ethan's crash. I tracked her down months back. LinkedIn sleuthing. A cold call that left me voiceless. She lived in Akron now. Adaptive tech consultant. Fierce as a winter gale. You took the hit for him? She'd rasped. Not bitter.
Just bone-tired.
Why? Because I was the good girl. The fixer. But over coffee, virtual. Then in person at a diner off I-76, she spilled the rest. Ethan hadn't just walked. He'd whispered to her family. Payoffs disguised as settlements, enough to keep mouths shut but souls scarred. And me, the patsy who perjured for a brother who couldn't spell remorse. We schemed loose at first, nothing illegal. Just truth serum. I leaked docs to her attorney. Old police reports. My sworn statement from 16. Ethan's clean record like a lie etched in stone. When the feds knocked on his door, Rico vibes from the real estate scam, it was Tara's testimony that twisted the knife. He bought my silence, she said in deposition. But not Alina's forgiveness. Ethan flipped. Of course, mystery witness for a plea. Ratting on partners to shave years off. Brittany took the kid and ran to her folks in Naples. Mom? She blamed me in a midnight call. Slurring on gin. You destroyed him. I whispered back.
No, Mom.
You built him that way. The eviction notice hit the mailbox like Judgment Day, certified.
Non negotiable.
They had 30 days. I drove down for the walkthrough, keys jingling like shackles. The house smelled of lemon pledge and defeat, Dad's recliner sagging in the den. They sat at the kitchen table, Mom's eyes red-rimmed, Dad's fists clenched, Ethan absent, probably in county holding his cards close. "Alina," Mom started. Voice a plea. "Please." I set the lease renewal on the Formica. Terms harsher. Rent hike.
No bits.
Background checks for guests. Sign. Or pack. Dad lunged, not violent. Just desperate, grabbing my wrist. "This is our home." His grip, callous from years at the mill, trembled. I yanked free, heart pounding not from fear, but the echo of that gurney, the sting of stitches pulling. Was it mine?
Dad?
When I needed $5,000 to not die. He deflated, sinking back. Mom sobbed. We were wrong. Forgive us. Forgiveness? That's the luxury of the unscarred. I leaned in, voice low. Wrong doesn't cover it. But here's your out, tell me why.
The real why. Dada.
The crash. Everything.
They spilled then.
A dam breaking. Ethan wasn't Dad's biological affair with Mom's sister. Hushed up when Dad adopted him at 5. He was fragile, Mom whispered. You were steel. Steel bends. I wanted to scream. Dad nodded. Ashamed. Thought we'd protect him into something better. Lost sight of you. The twist? Not just blood secrets. But mine. Turns out, the cancer screening flagged a genetic marker, BRCA from Mom's side. The aunt's line. They knew. Tested positive themselves. Buried it. Didn't want to worry you, Dad muttered. Worry? It was a bomb they defused for themselves, leaving me to the blast. I walked out that night, rain sheeting the windshield, Elmwood blurring to black. Eviction stood, but I delayed, sent a check for back rent. Anonymous. Through escrow. Let them think grace. Or God. Or karma. Ethan got 18 months. Out in 12 with good behavior. Tara got closure. A book deal pending on sister sins. Mom and Dad, they stayed. Tenants in their own tomb. Gratitude laced with resentment.
Me?
I sold the house 6 months later, flipped it clean, pocketed $50,000 profit, bought a cabin in the Poconos. Views of nothing but trees. Silence like absolution. Was it revenge? Justice? Or just the ugly math of survival? Folks in town still whisper, Alina, the ice queen who bankrupted her blood. Others toast me quiet at the diner. About time someone called the bluff. Truth? It's gray as Ohio winter. No it always. Just survivors picking shrapnel from the wounds. I sleep sound now. Scar tissue tough as leather. But sometimes, in the quiet, I wonder if I'd forgiven. Would the rust have spread anyway? Or was the torching the only fire that kept me warm? The cabin's first winter hit like a freight train, snow piling drifts against the logs. Wind howling through the pines like accusations I couldn't outrun. I'd tell myself it was peace. This isolation. But nights brought dreams of that kitchen table. Mom's sobs echoing off the timber beams. I'd wake sweating. The genetic report crumpled in my fist, BRCA 1 positive. Odds stacked like a house of cards. They knew my own flesh and chose silence over a warning shot. Family protects, Dad had said back then. But protection's a two-way street, and mine was a dead end. Spring thawed the ground, and with it came the calls. Ethan, paroled early for rehabilitation, Irony's a bitch, phoning from a halfway house in Dayton. Voice stripped of swagger.
Cease.
Alina. I get it. The house. The lies.
Can we talk?
I let it ring. Voicemail stacking like unpaid bills. But guilt's a creeper vine, twisting through the cracks.
Not for him, nah.
That ship scuttled, but for the kid. Nephew Noah. 3 now. Innocent collateral in our war. Brittany had full custody, but Ethan wanted visits. To make things right.
Right.
Like slapping a Band-Aid on a gut wound. I caved. Met him at a neutral spot. Perkins off I-70. Pie under glass cases glowing like false promises. He looked smaller, buzz cut from county. Tattoos peeking from his collar that weren't there before. Thanks for coming, he started. Fork stabbing pancakes. I fucked up. Big time. Understatement. We danced around it. The crash. Tara's chair. My perjury plea that could have landed me juvie if the truth surfaced. Why'd you let me take the fall? I finally asked, coffee bitter on my tongue. He shrugged, eyes down. Dad said it'd build character. Yours. Character. Like I was the anvil. Hammered flat for his shine. But Ethan being Ethan. He flipped the script, charm offensive. Tears on cue. I was scared. Okay? Young idiot. But you're my sister. Blood.
Blood.
The word soured. Laced with that aunt's DNA we shared. The secret they'd buried deeper than Tara's spine. He pitched reconciliation. Family therapy. Co-parenting for Noah. Even a sorry fund from his restitution checks. $500 a month toward my suffering. I laughed. Sharp as shattered glass. Suffering's not for sale.
Ethan.
But nice try. Left him with the check, torn in half, and drove east. Radio blasting Springsteen to drown the what-ifs. Back in Pittsburgh. Work swallowed me whole. Promotion to creative director. Team of 5 under me. Deadlines that blurred days into blurs. But the agency's holiday party, ugly sweaters and eggnog punches, cracked the facade. There, nursing a spiked cider.
Ema Jake.
Venture guy. Mid-30s. Easy grin and stories of bootstrapping apps in garages. We talk shop. Then scars, his from a botched merger. Mine from the ore table. Family's overrated, he quipped. Clinking glasses. Build your own. We did. Slow. Dinners at dive bars. Weekends hiking the Alleghenies. His hand steady when the checkups came back clean. Jake knew the outlines, the betrayal. The buyout, but not the marrow. Not until Mom's letter arrived. Postmarked Elmwood. Script shaky as her hands. We're losing the house again. Rent's killing us. Please, Alina. One more chance. Attached. Bank statements. Red ink screaming deficit. Dad's pension cut. Her shift's gone. Ethan's support a joke. I showed Jake over takeout tie. Steam curling like questions. He read.
Frowned. Eviking.
Clean break. But clean? Nothing in this bloodline was. The decision nod. A ulcer reopening. I drove down unannounced, mid-July. Humidity thick as regret. Found them in the yard. Weeding the rose beds Mom babbied like fragile hopes. Dad spotted me first. Trowel dropping. Alina.
No hook.
Just that word. Heavy. Inside. Over-iced tea sweating rings on coasters. They begged without begging. Eyes pleading what pride choked back. We fixed the porch light, Mom offered. like it atoned. And the gutters. I nodded. Touring the updates. Fresh paint in the hall. My old room converted to storage. Ghosts boxed in cardboard. That's when Dad cracked, sat me down in the den, his recliner creaking like old bones. There's more. About the aunt. Your mom. She didn't just stray. It was bad. Affair wrecked her sister's marriage. Ethan came from that mess. We thought hiding it made us whole.
Whole.
The word mocked. Turns out, the BRCA? Mom carried it too. Screened after the aunt's mastectomy in '98. Died young. Chemo cocktail too late. They opted out of telling anyone. To spare the pain. Spared themselves the mirror. More like. You tested positive young, Dad admitted. Clinic called us protocol. We sat on it. Figured you'd find out your way. My way. Scalpels and nausea. Alone. Rage boiled. But under it, pity. Cold and clarifying. These weren't monsters, just cowards in denial. Building empires on sand. I extended the lease 6 months. No hike, but with strings, therapy. Mandated. For Noah, I lied. Truth, for me, to watch the unravel from arm's length. Ethan showed up next visit. Kid in tow, chubby cheeks, eyes like mine. Uncle Ethan? Noah lisped, tugging my sleeve. Heartstrings snapped, but I held. Played blocks on the carpet, stories of far-off places, while the adults simmered in silence. Brittany filed final papers that fall, irreconcilable, with a side of fraud allegations. Ethan countersued, dragging me in as witness to character. Bullshit character assassination reversed. Court date loomed. Columbus Superior. Where I'd once perjured for him. Jake flew in, suit sharp, sat beside me in the gallery. Testimony dragged. Ethan's parade of sorries. Brittany's ice queen glare. Tara as surprise witness, rolling in, voice steady. Alina covered for him once. Won't again. The judge, gray-haired hawk, eyed us all. Hammer hovering. Plea deal stuck. Ethan pays restitution to Tara's fund. Community service.
No yal.
But the kicker? Supervised visits for Noah. Me as neutral party. Neutral? Hell no. But I signed on dinners at the cabin. Kids' laughter echoing off logs. Ethan on the porch like a stray dog. Mom and Dad stabilized. Rent on time. Thanks to Dad's side gig fixing neighbors' rides. Holiday cards arrived. Tentative olive branches. Forgiveness? Not yet. But thaw, maybe. Jake proposed that Christmas. Ring simple as his promises. Under cabin lights strung like stars. Build with me?
Yes.
1,000 times. Yet shadows lingered. A letter from the aunt's estate, unclaimed heirlooms. Photos of a woman who looked like my mirror. BRCA twin. Inside, a note. Faded ink. Protect the fragile ones. But don't break yourself. Too late, or just in time. The house in Elmwood sold that winter, to a young couple. Starting fresh. I kept the keys as talisman. Reminder that landlording blood teaches mercy's the sharpest blade. Spring 26 bloomed vicious, cherry blossoms choking the cabin's eaves. Allergies hitting like a secondary infection. Jake and I settled into rhythm. Him jetting to Silicon Valley pitches. Me helming the agency remote. Noah's visits a weekend anchor. The kid was glue. Innocent mortar patching our fractures. Auntie Lena. Build castle he'd command. Duplos scattering like shrapnel. Ethan hovered. Reformed facade cracking under parole officer check-ins. I'm trying, he'd mutter, stacking blocks with hands that once gripped a will too tight. But trying's a verb, and Ethan's tensed wrong. Whispers from Dayton. Halfway house drama. A business opportunity with old real estate cronies. I ignored it head down. Wedding plans blooming on Pinterest boards, Jake mocked gently. Vegas elopement? Or the full shebang? Full, I decided. Pittsburgh Cathedral. June vows under stained glass. Family. Selective. Mom and Dad RSVP'd yes. Ethan too, +1 for his sponsor, some AA ghost.
Tara?
Invited his friend. Not Spectre. Closure's a circle, she texted back. I'm in. The Bachelorette. Weekend went sideways fast. Brittany crashed it. Uninvited. At the Steel City Speakeasy. Hair extensions askew. Eyes wild from Pinot Noir. You think you're the savior, she hissed, cornering me by the jukebox. Jake's crew hovered, but I waved him off. Savior?
Nah.
Just survivor. She laughed. Bitter fizz. Ethan told me everything. The house grab. Tara's payout. Your poison. Alina. Always were. Poison. The word stung. Laced with truth's venom. I bought her an Uber. Watched taillights fade. But sleep evaded, tossed in the Airbnb. Ghosts of surgeries past whispering doubts. Wedding day dawned golden. Organs swelling as Jake waited. Tucks rumpled just right. Vows exchanged. Rings slid like promises sealed. Reception hummed, catered pierogies. Polka band for Dad's side, but tension simmered. Ethan cornered me during the chicken dance. Breath minty, with hidden flasks. Congrats, sis. You deserve this.
Beat.
But Noah, Brittany's pushing for full cutoff. Says I'm unstable. Unstable.
Both. Kettle.
Fight it, I said. Stealing. For him. He nodded. Eyes glassy.
Yeah.
For him. Honeymoon in Napa. Vineyards rolling like green waves. Jake's hand in mine. Washed it clean. Temporarily. Back home. Agency buzzed. Big client. Pharma giant needing rebrand post-scandal. Irony? Their mess mirrored ours, covered up trials. Whistleblowers buried. I pitched bold. Transparency campaign. Scars as strengths. Board loved it. Bonus check fat. But mid-pitch. My phone buzzed, Mom. Frantic. Ethan's gone. Packed a bag. Said something about one last score. Noah's with us. But. Call him. I did. Voicemails piling. Ethan. Don't. Then rage. You owe him better. Silence answered. Jake found me pacing the loft. Wine untouched. Let him sink. But sinking pulls undertow. Turns out. Ethan's score. Old flip partner. Offshore LLC. Laundering vibes through crypto wallets. Feds tipped by, guess who? Tara's network. Her consultant gig sniffing financial rot. Raid hit Dayton dawn. Ethan cuffed in boxers. Headlines screaming real estate rogue relapses.
Brittany sued a new custody revocation.
Me named enabler for housing mom and dad. Court again. This time federal flavor in Cincinnati. I testified neutral, truth serum. He chose his path. I chose mine.
Judge.
A no-nonsense Latina, with eyes like lasers. Grilled. And the property? Leverage? I met her gaze. Karma's not a clause. Your honor. It was business. She nodded. Ruling supervised only. Ethan distant uncle. Brittany won primary. But visits granted. Me as arbiter. Fall leaves turned blood red, mirroring the bleed. Mom suffered a stroke. Mild. But marker for the BRCA beast. Hospital room sterile. Monitors beeping accusations. Should have told you, she rasped. For dripping slow. Dad held her hand.
Mine hovering.
We were scared.
Scared.
The great equalizer. I arranged care, private nurse. PT sessions, billed to my account.
Nostrines.
Why? Dad asked later. Diner coffee steaming. Hate us that much? Hate?
Nah.
Indifference's the killer. Love's a choice, I said. This is mine. Ethan's trial dragged winter. Plea for 5 years. Minimum security. Sentencing day. I skipped the gallery. Hiked the Poconos instead. Snow crunching under boots. Jake waited at the summit. Thermos hot. Free, he asked. Arms wrapping. Freer. But freedom's fragile. Spring brought Noah's 4th birthday, cabin party. Balloons bobbing like hopes. Ethan zoomed in from lockup. Pixelated grin. Miss you. Buddy. Kid waved. Oblivious. Tara arrived with gifts, adaptive puzzles. Her laugh light. We're even, she said over cake. Even? Math never squares fully. Then the twist, the gut punch that split opinions like fault lines. Anonymous tip to my inbox. DNA results. Not mine, but Ethan's. Court ordered from the case.
Leaked somehow.
Paternity match, 99.9% to dad. Wait, what? The Ann affair? Smoke. Truth? Mom's one-night post-divorce fling. Before dad's adoption papers. Ethan knew, confronted them years back. Used it as leverage for the favors. The house. The blind eyes. Kept the secret to keep the kingdom, his old sponsor spilled in a follow-up call. I drove to Elmwood alone. Confronted them in the kitchen, now rented to that young couple. But Mom and Dad in the duplex next door. Courtesy of my generosity. He blackmailed you. Mom crumpled. Nodding. For stability. Thought it was love.
Love.
The ultimate con. Dad stared at his hands. We let it happen. To keep peace. Peace bought with my pain. My lies. My womb carved out for their facade. Rage? Exhaustion? I walked away. The keys to the old house donated to Habitat. Full circle. Or spiral down. Ethan got 7 years. Extortion add-on. I visited once. Plexiglass between. His face gaunt. Knew it had come out. No sorry. Just take care of him. Him.
Noah.
I did, godmother now. Brittany's reluctant ally in co-parenting apps and school runs. Wedding anniversary hit. Jake and I in Napa again, vows renewed under oaks. Still building, he asked. Always. But the scar? It itched. Reminder that revenge isn't catharsis, it's residue. Folks debate it's still small-town forums. Alina the Avenger, threads, villain or victim, hero or harpy, truth, all and none. I chose life, messy.
Mine.
The house? Sold. Profits to Tara's foundation. Ovarian warriors rising. Mom's chemo started summer. Me at her side. Holding what hands can't. Boundaries. Ethan writes monthly, stamps from Leavenworth. Words of growth. I read. Recycle. Noah asks once. Uncle bad. I hug him tight. Just human,
Kiddo.
like us. Human. Flawed. Fierce. Forever chasing even. Summer 27 scorched the earth, heat waves warping the cabin's tin roof. Mirages dancing on the lake like false escapes. Jake's startup exploded. App for genetic counseling. Ironic lifeline from our wreckage. Fate's got jokes, he grinned. Signing seed round papers.
Me?
Stepped back from the agency. Consulting freelance. Time for Noah's T-ball games and Mom's follow-ups. Scans clean. But vigilance a shadow, BRCA bracelets clinking like warnings. Ethan's appeals crawled. Denied each time. His letters turning philosophical, quotes from Nietzsche. What doesn't kill? I shredded most. But one stuck, photo enclosed. Him in khakis. Library backdrop. Forgive the unforgivable? Scribbled below. Forgive? That's theology, not autobiography. I filed it away. Unread. Brittany thawed slow, playdates evolving to barbecues. Her guard dropping over boxed wine. Heard about the DNA bomb, she said one dusk. Fireflies winking. Explains a lot. Explains?
Or indicts.
Noah kicked a soccer ball. Oblivious joy. Auntie Lena's house big, he yelled. Meaning the cabin. Big enough for weekends. Sleepovers.
Stories sans skeleton.
Mom rallied. Wig perched Johnny. Baking pies for the duplex neighbors. Making amends, she declared. Handing me a rhubarb lattice still warm. Dad tinkered in the garage. Tools oiled. Back straighter. Therapy stuck, group sessions in Akron. Confession circling like smoke. My turn. The surgery. You could have saved me that. Mom teared. We saved ourselves first. Cowardice. Cowardice. Named. It shrank. Tara's book dropped fall. Wheels of Wrath. Bestseller in true crime pods. Forward by me. Secrets drive. But truth steers. Launch party in Cleveland. Signing lines snaking. A fan cornered. You the sister? Badass or bully? I smiled. Ambiguous. Depends on the mirror. Winter brought the storm, literal. Nor'easter blanketing the Poconos. Power out 3 days. Jake and I hunkered. Candles flickering. Noah bundled in footy jams. Stories by headlamp. Mine sanitized. Heroes and happy ends. But midtail. Phone pinged. Signal faint. Ethan's parole board notice. Early release. Good behavior. Coming home, the text read. Home. Elmwood? Or our orbit. Spring 28 green tentative. He arrived unannounced. Bus from Leavenworth. Duffel slung. Standing on the cabin porch like a stray. Jake answered. Wary. I stepped out. Arms crossed. Heard you're out. Ethan nodded. Thinner. Tattoos faded. Program helped. 12 steps. Amends list. Amends. The word hung. Heavy as humidity. Coffee. I offered. Neutral ground. Kitchen table, same as always, steamed mugs between. He spilled. Prison AA. Vocational training in HVAC.
Sponsor pushing restitution.
OU. Alina. The lie. The house.
All.
The floodgates. Guilt for Tara. For me. For the aunt's ghost. Knew about the BRCA too, overheard Mom. Didn't warn. Thought it'd jinx my luck.
Luck.
Borrowed. Built on our bends. I listened. Storm silent. What now? He shrugged. Day job in Dayton. Visits with Noah. If you'll have me.
Have.
Conditional grace. Jake weighed in later. Your call. But boundaries.
Babe.
Boundaries. The fence I built. Wire taut. Months blurred. Ethan at T-ball. Cheering horse. Duplex dinners. Mom's pies thawing ice. Brittany watched hawkish. But softened. Group chat pings for schedules. Tara even joined once. Bar chat neutral. Water under. Under. Not over. Twist's echo lingered. Though, the DNA not just revelation, but ripple. Turns out, Ethan's real dad?
Trekt via ancestry speed kits.
A long-haul trucker from Toledo. Alive. Remarried. Contact? Ethan wavered. Then drove north, reunion awkward. Beers shared. Not replacing you, he told Dad later. Hug stiff. Dad clapped his back. Never could. My mirror shifted too. Pregnancy test positive. Early summer. Jake hooped. Cabin alive with plans. But BRCA loomed consults. Options. Egg freeze. IVF shields. Your choice, Doc said. Fine carry. Vigilant. Ultrasounds, grainy miracles. Heartbeat whooshing like absolution. Labor hit Labor Day. Pittsburgh General. No charity this time. Private suite. Girl. 7 pounds even. Cries fierce. Named her Alara, starlight through shadows. Ethan held her first uncle visit. Eyes wet. She looks like you.
Tough. Tough.
The inheritance we share. Scars and stars. Mom knit booties. Dad built crib, Brittany cooed. Custody walls crumbling. Tara sent onesies. Warrior wear. Evenings. Porch swings creak, Jake rocking Alara. Me journaling the gray. Revenge's residue. Forgiveness's freight. The Elmwood house? Rented long-term to that couple. Equity in strangers' dreams. Debate rages online. Podcast dissecting the landlord sister. Villain's arc or vigilante's vindication. She profited off pain versus. They sowed. She reaped. Truth? No sides. Just survivors scripting sequels. Ethan relapses once. Bender. Missed pickup but calls step 9.
Met.
We talk.
No torch.
Alara's first laugh. Bubble giggle at Noah's tickles seals it. Laughter. The ultimate eviction of ghosts. I am Alina. Scarred. Sovereign. Still standing. They spent fortunes on facades. I invested in foundations. Landlord no more, just life tenant. Lease indefinite. And in the quiet, under Pocono pines, I whisper to the wind. We're even. Finally,